All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing Mayflower by Nathaniel Philbrick. This book came out in 2007, shortly on the heels of his wildly popular In the Heart of the Sea. It might be called In the Heart of the Ocean, I don't remember. But that was about the whale ship Essex that crashed into the whale and the ship sunk, and then the people had to float away on a little rowboat, and they were stranded at sea, and they cannibalized each other at sea. There was a whole movie made about it. Anyway, this is his book about the Mayflower. And it is a gorgeous, gorgeous book. I love this cover. Let's talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. We've got this big ship in the center. It's just great. We've got maps galore in the book. We've got a whole bunch of just cool, aesthetically pleasing. I mean, even the title page, they did some nice work on it. It's just a gorgeous piece of artwork to have on your shelf. Came out in 2007. 102 passengers aboard the Mayflower. This book is set between the year 1620 and 1670, so it spans about 50 years or so, if my math is correct. Now, at the beginning of this book, I thought this book was just going to be about the Mayflower itself and the journey that it took. But the journey that it took takes place in the first part of the book. The bulk of the book is just about these people, these pilgrims settling in southern New England and the hardships they faced. 102 passengers were aboard the Mayflower. They were English men and women living in Holland. Now, for some reason, they decided to set sail for America. Well, the reason was God told them to do it. Why would anybody go to the savagery and certain death of the New World except for God telling them to do it? And so they did it. And their intended destination, I want to do a spoiler-free review of this thing, but I mean, we know how it turned out. We know how it turned out. So I'll just give some of the things I'll just talk about some of the things I found interesting. You know, their intended destination was actually the Hudson River Valley and Manhattan area of New York. But they actually landed in Cape Cod, and they were just like, screw it, let's just stay here. It was a long voyage, everybody. And it wasn't fun. Let's just stay here in Massachusetts, although it wasn't called Massachusetts then. But, you know, there was a lot of Native American tribes, you know, the Narragansett of Rhode Island, the Pokanokets, the Wampog, all these tribes. There was much strife in all of New England, especially the Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island areas. Now, Massasoit was the native leader of one of these tribes, and his disease now had killed most of his tribe and warriors. So he was not in a very big position of strength as these pilgrims were coming across the seas. But he still was going to fight for his land, right? And the pilgrims under Miles Standish came to a small truce and working relationship with the natives that were already in the area. But that didn't last. King Philip, there was a thing called King Philip's War. Now, King Philip was the young Native American son of Massasoit, and he was kind of the one that was like, okay, we're going to fight off these pilgrims. And this guy nearly wiped out all of the colonists and natives alike. I mean, this war, the King Philip's War, was a brutal event in southern New England history. And it stretched from Connecticut to Rhode Island to Massachusetts. Anyway, the Mayflower's voyage to this kind of eerie and empty coastal New England was not a pleasant thing. I mean, we're talking like medieval type conditions, like less than that even. Like even in Holland and England, they had buildings and homes. I mean, once they arrived at Cape Cod and Plymouth Rock and places like this, it was just nothing. They had to hack they're living and sustain their lives just out of the wilderness itself. And if you've ever been to any of these places in Massachusetts or Connecticut or Rhode Island, and you see the stone fences, like just these rows and rows of stones. I mean, they had to clear all of those stones out of the fields and all of the trees out of the fields just to grow food to survive. I mean, if I want to eat food, I just go to the local Golden Corral buffet and stuff my face. I don't have to clear rocks out of a field. I mean, just Nathaniel Philbrick, what I'm trying to say is he does a great job of just describing how bleak of a situation the Pilgrims faced. And not only the Pilgrims, but the Native Americans that were already living here in bleak situations. Their situation was becoming more bleak with the disease and the wars and everything. But we get to know different historical figures like William Bradford, Roger Williams. I've been to Roger Williams Park in Providence, Rhode Island. Beautiful park. At least it was back in 1988 when I went there. But anyway, Edward Winslow, Squanto, was it Edward Winslow? What was his name? Edward Winslow. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Squanto, the warrior, a flawed and heroic. Oh my gosh, I need to edit so much stuff out of the end of this video. Squanto was a flawed, heroic, and shrewd Native American back in the day. And of course, Benjamin Church. We get to meet all these people, and then we know how it turned out. I mean, America is what America is now. And that's how it turned out. We went to the Revolutionary War 100 years later. We Civil War 100 years after that. World War II 100 years after that. I mean, it just, America's a great nation. And the Mayflower was one of those ships full of brave people that got it started. I like this book a lot, and I learned a lot of history about the colonization of America. And I think it's a must-read for anybody that's interested in that kind of thing. So it's very fair and balanced, too. You get the perspectives of the colonizers and the native people. A solid 9 out of 10 historical fiction.